Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Let's start to play and send me challenge if you want to play. If you have also any questions,
what do I do from here?
I will answer.
I just don't like more risk girls.
Okay, let's open the chat and start. Well, let's start these games. E4 this time. Let's see what my opponent gonna play. And also F4 can be a move. Very effective move, but also not much player playing F4 against Sicilian. That's a little bit aggressive. And then I would try to go D3 because D4 should be a little bit overextended. It's also not a mistake, I believe. And what if after E5? I think if knight jumps on D5 he would have really good pawn structure, also a little bit. Just A5, a little bit good pawn structure, also double, but I think that won't disturb him. Well, now we are attacking and I believe B3, bishop B2 should be moves. To bring bishop on this nice diagonal and bring all the forces. Let's try to do that. I believe no threat, just he can take the bishop, not problem. What if this? Okay, I'm just kicking the bishop. No problem in my position. He has to go back and I'm slightly improving this. Bishop b2 and then because that should be closed. I can even go d5 this time. Okay, really good play by him. Let's go here, and if he takes with a pawn, I believe queen d4, I will attack on the bishop and the rook. No problem. Rook a1, and now he can't push this d-pawn. So I would like to do that. And d6 is a little bit weak, I would like to jump there. Let's see how he can respond. He can even take with a bishop, which he's doing because somehow my knight can create a really huge attack on his position. But anyway, I would like to open this f6 pawn and attack on g7. How can I do that? Probably not pushing the pawn, because if even not to take to destroy his pawn structure, he can move it forward and also block my bishop. But I would like in this position to bring my rook on that g4 or h4. That depends what he will play here. Just if he takes, I can even try to take, but his pawn structure would be very bad and he's not taking. I'm not sure, I need to bring the rook on h4 or g4, but g4 somehow I can try to take this pawn, probably bishop c1 somehow. Not now, but anyway, if that all were protected. And attack on g7, because that's not very much protectively from him. And we will see, probably we can even push this h3 pawn to attack here, because even g6 won't work. I'm overpressuring his position. If I not take, can be any blunder from him or not. That's defended, g1. He can't go, I'm happy to see that. Very nice. So what should I play? Probably queen d5. If I sacrifice the rook, from f8 would be made, but queen d6. If he takes with a king, I don't know. Probably that shouldn't be. But anyway, he's kicking my rook, so I can't go. That's f rank and rook back won't work. So he has to go king h7 after that. And we will see. Probably attack on the rook or like king side. I would like to bring my queen on f3 if that trade wasn't happen. Just h5 pawn is a very weak from him. So let's see. Let's be sure everything okay. Well, what's my plan? I can also take this pawn on a6 and have passed pawn from b3, try to push that pawn. But anyway, I believe we blundered that mate. I didn't saw that coming. Very bad. I didn't know also what he was thinking about that. Probably he even didn't see that. Very bad. Write in the chat when I'm doing that mistake, so we can resign so easily. We have a gambit here. I like that gambit. f4 we are sacrificing the pawn, but if he takes, and that pawn should be very weak at the time. I could at the time just push d4 pawn, and because d4 would be undefended if he takes f4. That's the idea. But if they are not to take, just no problem. We are trying to open this f-file for our rook. And probably trade, and after that with the knight, okay? Okay, he took with a pawn, not bad. Moved the opening d-file and also the bishop side. What if this? But we will blunder e4 pawn, and let's push this pawn to defend that central pawn and bring bishop out, okay? In a3 that should be really good bishop here. I would like to kick the bishop and bring my rook if he takes. If he not to take, I should be very much happy, because he would lose the tempo there. Rook g3, bishop h6 is my plan, and g7 wouldn't be easy for him to defend. Or f7 is weak, so let's try to use it. I'm trying to go knight d5. If he takes, just his knight should be under attack. He has to take with a queen, but f7 should be defended from him. But if c4, try to kick the queen from f7 after that trade. I believe we can take, but my bishop is doing a great job, so I will try to bring it h6 or something. Well, that's attack on my rook. Can I sacrifice? If he takes the rook, just I will take the pawn, king h8. His position will be a little bit bad. I think after queen a5, just h7 should be really good under attack. That's why he's defending. And I'm happy to see he can't take my bishop and the rook because that was under fork, okay? I'm forcing him to go back, and even how can I defend this bishop? Or it need it to me or not? Knight d5. After this trade will happen, I'm not sure. Probably I'm giving so much advantage to him. I would like to bring this bishop back and then b3, but because the knight is defending, we will try also to trade the knights. Because bishop b3, he hasn't light square bishop, and that should be a little bit hard for defend f7. Also, my queen is doing a great job, and the next moves I will bring the rook into the game. He's trying b4 and kick the knight, but I'm not thinking that should be any threat. But anyway, how I said, let's trade bishop b3, and the only protectively figure for f7 should be the knight on f6. Because even if it's not just rook f8 won't work and something, if I takes, rook will defend f7. Am I needed or not? Or can we just go back, try to use this pin? Or protect this bishop? I could protect with my queen, and my queen should be on h6, but what should I play after that? I get overwhelmed by opening, even the basic openings. When I think to play, I feel like I might mess up the position. The more I think about I think you just knew that openings very well, and now that's not. Probably you forgot about some openings, that's why you something can mess up. And for that you can learn endgames, because if you learn endgames you don't need to worry about openings. Just you can find all that best moves in your games. Openings is just disturbing from that. Don't try to learn openings. I don't know so much openings, just I know I'm saying that I have only 3 or 4 moves, for example, Vienna Gambit, a4, f4, knight c3. And after this I'm playing the best moves that I'm thinking that should be in position like that. Learn endgames, okay? And also if you want to play, send me challenge. How I said, let's get this rook on f1, and f7 should be under attack, and also I'm trying to pressure the knight. So probably he did accidentally, and if I take with a bishop check, he shouldn't have enough time to take the rook on g3. I can even take with a rook if he takes, just that should be open check. I will take his queen, but also my queen should be hang after that. Very tricky position from these two sides. But anyway, rook f8 if I take the pawn. Not sure, probably he needs to take the bishop first. We will see. And we are not up a pawn, but very good position from us. I'm happy to see even that in every move we have plus 2 seconds. Queen or rook takes on f3 if he trade. Okay, he's not still doing, but let's see. Our bishop is under attack. Let's go back and probably not to take what we are thinking about rook f7 at the time. And I took with a rook. Because if queen takes, just rook f8 from him should be kicking piece from him, okay? And I'm trying to go queen f7 from queen g8 will be made. So I'm trying to do that, but he can't defend. That should be tricky. If I take, he should pin the queen, so let's not do that. Or we can even take with a bishop, but not take pawn back. So I'm trying to get this f rank, and if not mate, just this pawn's gonna lose. My white squares are very well defended, so he can't make some advantage from here. Just see that's all defended. I can't say about d3, but if he takes, he shouldn't have enough time to defend his position. Also, we have below than 10 seconds. We need to play fast. Queen c8 is a threat, but how can he defend that? Queen c8 just undefendable. He needs to create some threats in my position, and if it's not just h5, h4, h6, because this gonna happen, and I believe that even that's not defend his position, because queen g8 can be threat. Okay, probably he's doing right move, and he could also go back, try to defend the bishop. He's not doing, but anyway, I'm gonna mate from g7. That's a pre-move. If I were black, probably queen c5 just will defend that bishop, and he didn't need to go king g7 at this time. So as black, probably I could defend that position. Very well played, let's play another game. I'm waiting for your challenges. Sicilian defense McDonald attack, okay? Just f4 is called. Sometimes I arrive at a position where I can castle instantly or develop and then castle, but castling instantly feels like no development scope at all from that one onwards when to castle. When you are thinking your king can be a little bit not defendable. See, just a file is open, so he can check and pressure there, and if he checks with a queen, just what should I do? Bishop e6 to also develop the other pieces. f5 I will blunder the bishop. If queen a2 check, queen a7, after this trade I will take with a bishop, and that should be second move that I'm gonna play my dark square bishop. So I know if he checks, just I will lose the move. Because bishop d6, and how I said, bishop back. That should be lose a move for me. You know, that's why I can castle. Okay, he did it because I was threatened, same thing that I said you. And if you think that you are gonna have bad position, just castle. That's not when you are castling, that's not just lose move for you. When you are playing, for example, how can I say, knight g4 and h3 and knight back, that should be down tempo for you. Thank you too, bro. Okay, when I play knight g4 and h3, knight back, that should be down a tempo, not just castle. You should castle almost all your positions. I won't say all, but anyway, if your two sides are destroyed, you don't have to do that in all your positions. But 5% from your games can be like that. The practice is practice says that you just need to keep your king's safety, because if it's not just one miscalculate, and probably he will gonna take a win if you are even up a figure, that doesn't matter. And also that's really good when you are attacking on his pieces and forcing him moves. Just rook b1 wasn't give him anything, but he's gonna defend, okay? So I'm bringing my queen activity and forcing him moves. And also this pawn was hang. But that should be open attack. We first need to see is there any threat that he can do or not. And also see this attacking moves. Knight g5. Okay, bishop is protecting, I can't take. But if I go back, there's f7 shouldn't be hang, and we need to solve that threat that he can do. And also we can make threats there. See, he tricked. h2 was under attack, and I believe bishop f4 check, and his bishop gonna lose because I was attacked 2 pieces. The time I also win my queen on a5, but because bishop, if I take, just that should be queen trade from the rook and bishop. What are better, horses or knight? Like, is it okay to trade bishops for knights in the beginning? Well, my opponent resigned because after one move I'm gonna mate. I will say bishops are really cool pieces on the endgame when you have very much open squares. And the knights are, I think, very much better in closed position, because in closed position you can trick your opponent, make some threat. In closed positions, bishops haven't so much squares that can jump. And that depends from your position. If you know that from your bishop you are gonna take the knight and destroy his pawn structure, you can take. If you know that, for example, if I take the knight from my bishop and his bishop won't protect, he has to take with a pawn, I would do that, why not? That's defense from your position. There is French defense variation. There is just, I will say, two main variation almost. When bishop b4, you can take the knight or not, but if you say that if he takes, his pawns will gonna, for example, a3, c3, d4, typical French variation as white, sorry. If you know you're gonna give him so much active pawn structure, you don't need to do that. Just there is some position you can trade and some positions you don't need to trade. That depends from your position. How I said, if you learn endgames, you can find the moves you can play or not. Just is that helping you or not? And you need to be careful if that end move isn't helping you, that's gonna help your opponent. That's why I'm saying be careful when you are trading pieces. But I think bishops are a little bit better. Like, see, that's a close position, his bishops aren't doing anything, and my knight also controlling some squares, and also c2 weak square. He's trying to open some squares to go his bishop. Okay, we need to be sure that's no threat and think about queenside, because his king castle there and he has to attack on my king side, and I have to protect my king side or attack on queen side. I'm choosing attack here. Okay, bishop back, and I can defend so much pieces. With so much pieces that king side, so I'm choosing to attack on his queen side. Okay, he blocked the bishop, so we don't need to take, bringing his bishop activity on that diagonal, you know? That won't help me, so I'm gonna a5. If he takes, my pawn structure wouldn't be good, but I'm doing this because c5 should be open after that trade, and the rook c8 and queen c7, just his pawn will be weak. There is, I believe, one from one move he can defend this c2, so I'm gonna pressure there. And he even play clever, he's not doing any trades. If he takes, just I can't take, because that's open, and also this check can work. I'm gonna defend this, but if I defend, as I'm not sure, because g7 isn't now under attack and he's trying to attack on g7 and at the same time use this pin, I'm gonna unpin this and I can move the knight. I'm sure he missed the knight. He needed to take with a check and then bishop h6. Yes, also at the time g7 should be defended. But anyway, he blundering his knight. He still can't take g7. Just his pieces is a little bit deceptive. I would like to play rook g1 and have this really good diagonal for my queen and rook. What if he had taken your knight, your king would be under check. If I take, just bishop take, and that should be all. And from h6 there is nothing he can do. He can bring the rook, but also I have 3 pieces which can defend this second rank. Yes, my bishop are cool. My bishop is cool, why not? And what should we play? I would like to trade some pieces here, and I move before pawn move, because if just a3 he could just play b3, and that should be block position. Let's take this pawn because I'm opening b file, and that's with a check. He can't escape with his bishop. His bishop was doing a great job. If I were right, I won't trade it. I didn't take this pawn on a2 because if I take a5, a file would be closed anyway. So I'm gonna take that, and I can even pin this and take. Okay, just if I take a6 check, move the king, and my knight will be lost. But I'm gonna take his bishop, why not? My knight isn't doing that much great job, so can trade or even not. Because that's defended only threat rook g1, but how I said, g7 is overprotected. I can even try to sacrifice the knight and from b2 square, and how I said his queenside isn't well defended. So I'm gonna mate just rook d2, and which piece can defend this? I think no piece there. That's he fought only 1 minute and 15 seconds. I was in a time pressure. That's why he lost this, because he didn't think so much. Anyway, that's really cool from me. I think really good tactic that I could teach you. I'm bringing the queen, also I could even take right away, but anyway, that's not a mistake actually. Where can I bring the bishop? I believe f5 because g4, just bishop a2. That should be all defended in his position. And we can castle, typical Scandinavian defense, because I am developing all my queenside pieces. Let's go, nice one. What's the name of the opening you use? That's called Scandinavian defense, when you are developing all your queenside pieces, and also castle, bring the rook activity. And now I'm gonna pressure here. If I take, just let's calculate, c file will be open. Not sure that should be good for me or not. And if I were right, and even good plan is when you are castling short as white. And I'm trying to bring my pawns there and try to open that diagonal. Okay, it didn't take, but if it does, I should be so much happy. Hello Borogunda, how are you? I would like to move the knight, but for some reasons I can't. If I take the pawn a3, that should be down a knight. I have a plan. Yes, you can do that, why not? But d3, his bishop just can't move. I'm gonna take the bishop after next. This should be a move. I am good too, thank you for that. Yes, he can attack, but this bishop is gonna lose because that's just there is no move he can play. This should be move. I would like to go g6 also to hit this pawn on g2, but after this, you know, that shouldn't be cool. Just he would force to trade even d3 if hang, just I would be down a piece. Let's trade the queens. I'm up a pawn or not? I believe not. I will try to take the knight, and then his bishop should be hang. Just if it's not, his pawn structure would be destroyed. How I said, you can destroy his pawn structure even with this trade, okay? And I'm gonna do that because we are reaching endgame. And when you are playing endgame, you need to have really good pawn structure to not lose just for pawn. Hello bro, everything is good. What about you? We are down a pawn, but no problem because he has two couple double pawns, so I can even play g4. But the only thing that I can try to do, bring my bishop out. d6 is protected, e7 also. So what if bishop g7, but still I'm not trying to do anything okay here. Yes, I'm remembering you. Last two streams you were here. We can trade, but am I needed or not? What if I check, sacrifice the rook and take his rook? If I move the rook, check and rook back should be made. Not sure what should I play. I think we are taking a pawn from here. Or figure. Very good move, you see. Bishop g7, I'm attacking on his bishop on d8 and also the rook on a1. I believe that shouldn't work, he can't take my bishop. I'm gonna make a new queen. And if it's not just rook d1, I will force him to trade, and if it's not just queen a1 should be new queen. Who is your favorite player till now? My favorite player is Bobby Fischer and Magnus Carlsen. Bobby Fischer was great in his times and Magnus now. Not now, just I will say some years before this, but anyway, they are the gods. Bishop c4 because he pushed that pawns forward, just who is gonna defend f7. That's why he pushed this pawn, and g5 is protected from my bishop and also from the knight. So I'm gonna make develop probably queen d5 just. Okay, I would like to trade this and queen d5. This f7 is a very weak. So there is no defense he brought there. Bishop e3 because I went h3 to not force him to trade from him, okay? Yes, Tal also playing really good. King of Sacrifice. Bro, look at his name. Quesi's favorite player. Yes. I think Bobby Fischer was legend. Just also Fischer's chess is crazy and also helping players when we are speaking about chess improvisation. That's really doing great job. Okay, we can trade something here, and also the file is open for me, so I'm gonna bring the rooks here, and C file is also open for him. But I believe c3 just that should be closed. How he gonna make advantage? If I take, bishop takes. That should be a really good activity for him, but if I not take, also that can happen, why not? Let's not lose a move for taking these pawns, because that's not helping me. And because that's not helping me, that will help my opponents. Bishop c3 can be a move. Okay, and never even now for sure, because this b2 was under attack, and then we can bring the rooks. The rooks on d file, and we will see. This looks like we are down a pawn, but for sure we are not. Why is his pawn structure is very good. Okay, let's over defend this d5, because if he try to even push, I believe he will do that accidentally, because my bishop should be great job on that diagonal. So if he just one miscalculation from him, he just gonna blunder all these pawns. That's typical pawn chain. What system and defense every player should know, even low rated. I believe because most players playing e4 e5, that's believe every 300 player even should know, and I will say Italian Gambit because there is trap if you know. Just that's great if you don't know, just very much players using that to win their opponents. And also you need to know Sicilian defense because that's not easy. And that's a very common mistake when you are playing a4. I don't think any defensive opening, for example Caro-Kann or French, that's you don't need to learn that for defense, but some aggressive players, for example Elephant Gambit, a4, a5, knight f3 and d5. Some aggressive openings that should you know for defend against it. I thought London and Caro-Kann because that's yes, London you can. Caro-Kann is a little bit defensive, so you can just find the best moves. And they are not gonna do something about that, you know? They're just try to have good center. If you don't know what should you do, just have a good center. There is no problem. He's closing this position, okay? What should we play? I would like to bring king on g2. I think f3 can play it from him, but queen e3 I will just make some trade here. Because my position is getting a little bit close, which I don't like. And we have really bad pawn structure, but because I'm trying to bring my rook on h2, probably king f2 and try to bring another rook on that h file should be okay. Bishop c4, knight d3. Even push pawn can work, but g2 should be undefended. I would jump there and we will see. Okay, he's not doing. How can I bring the rook on h file? Because just from h7 check, if I have this or two rooks on that h file, that should be great. There is a question, how can I? Okay, I'm trying to check and take the rook. My rook also pinned, but there is no problem. I would like to have some trades. Take with a rook, please. Well, he did. And because that's why he's gonna lose this pawn on queenside. That rook is pinned, so we can't defend that, okay? Let's force him to take, and in our moves let's take with the knight because the bishop is under attack, and f2 I'm still defending that. And see, his bishop is doing great job, that's why I said you need to keep your bishop endgames like that. That's also defending f2, so if he push the bishop, probably he can bring the rook on h file and mate. Try to that, okay? And that's not so much clear what is he trying to do. Yes, probably that's the idea. But f2 is undefended. Okay, I didn't thought that all that g file should be defended. Even somehow I couldn't defend it. Not sure. Okay, and when opponent playing just g6, b6, you need to have really great center. Just you have that chance, okay? That's very simple. When you don't know even g6, b6, what you can play against that, defend everything, because this bishop r3 and he's trying to take the knight, so d4 should be undefended. Let's be sure you are not plundering anything there. So I would go d5 to protect, because I couldn't just bring another defense on that d4. Bishop back can also work. In this position they are playing knight a5, which he plays. Let's over defend f3, and just our pawn structure is really good. He will try to break it with c6 or a6, some moves. And because opponent played g6, we can even go bishop back f4, a5. Not bad, you know. Okay, let's do that. probably f4 and a5 to have really great center. Okay, we can trade, but because his bishop should be active here and also a4 should be under attack, let's not do that. His bishop is active on that diagonal, but in c6 that should be really great. So if he trade, just his knight will kick from there, but where? I believe a8 should be only move because h5 I will take and then the pawn. Just if even not to take, a8 should be only move. And at the time I would like to go a6 when this should be defended, okay? But because that's not, I'm not sure, but if I take the pawn d6 he can bring the knight or even not the knight. Probably with a queen here. How can I do that? If I take, he has to take with a pawn also to not blunder this pawn on c5. And is this pawn hang or not? I believe yes. So what should we play if it takes? Is there any problem or not? Okay, let's trade. I don't think there is any move that we can play. Queen d3. Queen d3, bishop a5, that should be just a kick from him, okay? Let's try to trade the bishops, and also at the time f5 could be possible. Well, he's playing f5, just a little bit overextended his position, but because central is closed, there is not so much clear how can I attack on there. Probably g4 because how I can't attack on his king from the center. Also he can't attack from the center on my king. b5 before is a plan, so if I bring the knight back, b2 which should be under attack. Let's defend b2 first and then knight a2. And where I should bring the knight? Probably on g5 should be a great job, but h6, and we have to go back. We can also move this pawn forward. Okay, let's just defend the h4 first, because if that pawn were on h5, you need to realize where should be your pieces. That should be great, okay? And I realized that if that h2 pawn were on h5, just if he not take, I will take. And h5 should be open for him. I will bring king f2, the rook and the queen. And there is no much protector on that h5 from him. So if I have that, just that should be GG. If he not take, how can I continue? Probably queen g3 and then take. g6 is gonna be very weak pawn. So I believe I can take. d5 is under attack, just a2. If he takes should be mistake. After b3 that should be blocked in here, and I am gonna take that. Let's take. If he takes, we will take with a check. So I don't think he will gonna do that. But anyway, if he takes that pawn, is that gonna be bad for me or not? Okay, let's don't give him enough time to take this pawn, because we can hang anything in his position, force him to defend. And okay, our rook on f1 isn't doing anything, and the rook on b1 is just protecting this pawn on b2. So let's defend, go back and wait. How can we go forward here? Okay, that was under attack, but no problem. I'm gonna take this. Just if it's not, his queen will be hang. There is a pin, and even he didn't need to take this. He's trying to sacrifice the queen. Okay, not just have a really good a file, okay? And if I take, just that should be really great rook on a8 and attack on my position. So let's not let him do that. Well, you can take my queenside pawns. I am thinking to attack on your position. And I'm not sure that should be a mistake if he takes the pawn or not, because that's a little bit slow from him, and probably I can attack on his position, make some trouble. I would like to bring my queen on h3 and then bishop h4, but because rook is also defending h5, which is really great, because from 8 that should be just straight, and he's trying to bring his pieces over here. The bad thing that I can't activate my bishops there. My position is a little bit closed, but if rook back, bishop back, and at the time I can bring my queen here, because I tried to attack on his king side. How you saw that didn't happen. So what if bishop d1, or that should be just a trade which we don't like? Let's go here, probably bishop f6. Yes, he plays it. Let's give him second pawn if he wants to take, if not just... we will see. We have to sacrifice that, yes, because if I move that h3 or h2 to not blunder the queen, also check from f2 and that should be lost, but even my position isn't bad. His bishop was protecting really much dark squares here. I am threatening here and take the knight. He missed or not? Not sure. Let's take the knight, and my position is defended. What are you thinking about that? I think that's okay. I'm gonna take this. Check, not a problem. I can't mate here, yes. Light squares are a little bit defended, but I'm trying to go back also if it needs sacrifice there. And we will see. Okay, we have to do that. I'm happy to see he can't check, because if he checks, my undefended figure should be hang. So I'm gonna d6, d7, and let's see can I make new one or not. Okay, f4 check, and my pawn should gonna hang after, my rook should gonna hang. Okay, at the time. That's why I said queens are really tricky also in the end games when you have some open files. If I push that pawn forward, just check from f4 and my rook would gonna lose. With his queen, but anyway, because he fought so much in that opening and middle game, he wouldn't have enough time to calculate that end game. Okay, we have a Gambit, he's playing main line, and also that's really correct. We are gonna have this trade and bishop a2. Just that's the main line which you need to learn and play. Well, just some pieces activity. What should we play? If I take the knight first and then the pawn, he should take my queen, and I couldn't castle at the time, but if queens are traded, don't worry about so much castle. Yes, I'm gonna do that, and my pawn structure will be a little bit damaged after he will take the knight. But anyway, I have really great center and his center pawns were gone. So just some activity. Bishop c4 and then we will see. Probably long castle even can work. I'm bringing pieces out and attacking some pieces in his position. Or bishop b2 probably after some moves because his kingside is just without pawns. Without figures. Probably we can even attack here. He missed or not? He has to take with a king. Okay, he did because from g6 that should be fork and his rook would gonna lose. And let's bring the rook on d1. Because d1 he couldn't bring the rook on d8, which now he can. Let's trade, do this and probably king a2 because we are going endgame and that's very also nice idea when you are bringing your queen center of the board. So rook d3 and here, but also he can get that back. So I'm not sure what should I play, probably rook d3 because if he takes I will undouble my pawns and should have really great center there. Okay, see my central pawns. That's why you need to think all your figures, also the pawns, because I'm up a pawn, but that looks like I'm up the whole game. And his bishop is gonna kick from d6, should be blunders, he's going on b6. And let's bring the rook. I'm sure he will try to push his kingside pawns or even queenside pawns to try to trade some pawns on my really good pawn structure, okay? Let's push all this and think about how can we broke that position to move forward. This can even be drawn position. But we will see. f5 offers some moves. We have really good pawn structure. I would like to have h pawn as passed pawn. So how we gonna trade? So we can try to bring these pawns out and my bishop should be active, or and I just need to bring this on a3. Because if I move that pawn, his bishop also should be in a very good place. Barewach Perez, love Duvances. Yes, that was under attack. I could even block with a5, but after f6 I should trade. If not, just I couldn't push these pawns forward, which I'm trying to do. If he not takes, can I take or not? Because my pawn structure should be a little bit, you know, I needed to worry about that a little bit, but not blunder anything, okay? Let's push this to defend, and if he tries rook f8, try to go bring it back. Bishop a3, that means he will blunder the rook. I did only for that I see is he gonna blunder rook f8 or not. That's very interesting. Well, kingside is closed. Somehow he can't attack on there. Well, I was waiting he would do that. Just I have 8 years practice and I know how much is your rating and which blunder do you gonna do. And he resigned. Very well game. If anyone wants to play, send me challenge. a6, d5, c5. What opening will you recommend to me to play? Just I'm playing simple moves to get this central. Squares actually try to trade his active pawns. He's bringing so much activity here. I believe knight c6. c6 should be undefended. Knight d7, c6, okay. I believe we should go there. Because knight d7 just, he could push that pawn and knight back just b5. He should have really great advantage in my position, so let's not let him do that. go back. Okay, probably he did that. Even a4 should be moved. Not a problem, just because queenside is closed, I would like to attack on him on kingside. Okay, he didn't activate any piece, so in kingside he should be very bad, I think. So now a5 won't work. But I would like to knight a4, okay, and then f6, a5. Queenside is closed and I am happy even a little bit to see that. Probably I should be a little bit worse, but anyway, my kingside is hilarious. Let's push or not? I would like to trade because even d5 was hang. Here and bishop h3, okay. g3 isn't that much defended. What if this, because d4 he needs to defend his position and go back, okay? d4, that won't help. Let's kick his queen. And we would have enough time to bring queen g6, but wait. What if knight h4 after this? So what should we play? I would like to go back and h4 would be defended, but a5 is under attack. And what if I try to bring the rook? h6 or g6, not much different, just attacking on his kingside lines. This pawn is a little bit passive in my position. What should I play? How can I defend? This should be a move, okay? And if I have enough time to bring the knight on a7, also that should be defensive, if not just a5 is a really good square, which I would like to jump there and make some advantage. I'm seeing his weakness and f2 is a weakness for him. Also d4 can be moved to sacrifice the opponent. Also open this bishop diagonal. What if I take? Okay, and now his weakness on a3. Probably I didn't play f3 because my pawns are double. My pawns are double. He needs to keep that as much how he can, but he's getting a little bit overextended position, which as his opponent I liked it. Okay, I tricked him. Just double attack on his position and he's gonna not see that I took. So what should I play after this? I should be worse after that trade. I would like to sacrifice the bishop. And if king takes... Okay, let's do that. I won't take the bishop. I will take this pawn on g2 with a check. And because my rook is gonna on g6 just, that should be great. Okay, he's not taking, but I'm taking 3 pawns from his position. And how we know 3 pawns are better as a figure. And that's a proof, because this f-file is protecting from the rook and also from h1 I'm trying to mate. How can he defend this zugzwang position? This pawn isn't under attack, so he could sacrifice and defend, but that can't be happen. If I take the bishop, how he can defend after that? Probably I can check king f2. If I take, my queen should be under attack. I would take the queen from here, but if I check first, also my queen should be under attack. That's why I didn't right away queen h1. Hello Ian, how are you? I would like to go queen f7 and bishop c4 he can pin, but I'm gonna make a new queen here almost. h1 check, I will take the rook. Okay, that should be rook trade, and also I should be much better to take the bishop from here, okay? Rook d1 to create this really good d-file and also protect the rook from this check. Thank you, bro, I'm also good. His bishop was under attack. What if I take and rook d7? I can't just defend. Because if I move there should be any checks for disturb me. And queen h1. Check, we will see. His rook should be hang now. What is he doing? We could even sacrifice the queen and we should be better up a knight and bunch of pawns. But I'm gonna win after some moves. Okay, with a check. 2 or 3 moves, he should get mate. If anyone wants to play, send me challenge. f2 mate with a pawn, okay? He's trying. Ah, okay, very bad. Just do so. I thought he have 3 pawns, he could just move, but he didn't. Okay, not that bad. That's called developing Gambit. Let's push that forward, because if d-file should be open for him, just he should get some activity here. And also d4 was very unprotected at the time. And knight, because if he takes, my pawn structure should be good. Yes, very funny draw at the time. Just he had 3 pawns, I saw only that. I just draw my one position. Yes, really good trick, and if I even not to take the rook, he would continue to some checks. Really bad. And I need to check and make a new queen from g1, okay? Well, not a huge problem. Let's go h4. Okay, what is this move? I believe if he takes, he will take with a rook and his knight will be hang. But what if he takes with a king? Or what if h5? Because he has to take the knight. Because if it's not just from h7, I was trying to mate. He's gonna be down a pawn. Okay, d4 is hang, but I would like to take this pawn on g5 also to kick the queen, and this is hanging. I might need to take that, but at the time, just I couldn't take this pawn on g5. Let's take this pawn or the bishop first, but if I take the bishop, we would have to take with a queen. But if I take with the knight, there should be an attack on my queen, which I don't like. And also, if I let him to take my bishop, my pawn structure should be bad. Yes, f-file should be open for me, but anyway, I don't like that position. Okay, check, I believe there is no tricks. Okay, we have two isolated pawns that not that bad, you know. Let's defend with rook on a1 because f2 was defended from that. And what if this and g3 he can't take? Okay, let's push it forward. What is he trying to do? Rook h5, there's king g1 and that should be overprotected, why not? We are up a pawn, so we can try to trade here. He didn't like trade, but anyway, I think I'm gonna win this. I have really good chances. And we need to be sure we are not getting backrack checkmate. So let's defend all that files so his rook can't go there, you know. I'm trying to take this pawn, and if it's not just a7 and rook d8, how can he defend? pawn push, takes, can't work. Also there is no mate, so I am very thankful about to this pawn on c3. If I take... Why I didn't took this pawn on b7? Because anyway he can defend. Let's get this, probably rook a7, and he will try to trade. Oh no, he's trying to mate. If he checks, king a2, rook g1, and probably g2 gonna hang. That's why if he checks, rook a1, I will defend that. No problem, our pawn is over defended on that a7. He can't also bring the rook on that pawn and defend. Probably he's gonna go on c2 to try to take this pawn and also mate. But you know that's not gonna work. Let's overprotect this pawn on a7, and he can't bring the rook because that's diagonals are protected. And I'm simply gonna move this pawn forward. a6 and bring the rook, probably b7. He needs to go rook a3 because rook b7, this pawn should be undefended sometime. And I believe that should be only way that he can defend his position. He's down 2 pawns and I have really good passed pawns. But how can I get advantage? What if I do this? And even he's trying to mate from bank rank if I move the rook somehow. Okay, he checks. He's trying to reputate that position. What if rook d7, sacrifice this pawn? Here takes. He's gonna lose this rook, I believe. Let's check. But what if king g7? Probably I missed that. But if he do that, even his rook should be hang. Let's see. Okay, he's trying to trick me, because if I take just... I didn't see that should be back checkmate. Let's defend this rook very bad. I sacrificed 2 pawns to take the rook, but that didn't happen. That's why probably I didn't need to just let him pawn to go this g3. Now what should I play? Let's first not blunder mate in 1. Rook back, because if checks and check from a2 I will blunder the rooks, so let's connect the rooks and defend that position. His pawn structure isn't that much really good, and probably that should be even draw, why not? And when you are up a pawn in that rook and pawn endgame, 90% the games are going to be draw, like now, because his king is so far from this pawn and I'm gonna take. Okay, my time is too low. What I did. Okay, I lost on time. Very bad, I would like to defend that position. Sicilian defense this time, okay? d5 even can be moved. d5 just straight and d6, okay? knight here and a5 can't be moved. So a lot of players saying that a5 and you're gonna, I don't know, bring your knight on d5, but also when that d5 is also protected, there is no good squares that you can jump. So let's be sure this position after a5. Just knight d5 can work okay, and even his bishop is under attack, which is protecting the knight. Okay, let's pin this. c3 should be only moved to defend his position, because I'm attacking with two pieces. That's a sacrifice of pawn, I believe. Okay, that bishop was hanging. That's why you don't need to bring all your pieces on only one file. And now what should I play? b5 to attack on this pawn. Probably b6 and then bring the bishop. Well, if I take rook b1, great idea, why not to open this b file, but he can't take now. I'm up 6 points material. This knight is hang. Rook a1, he can bring that back, even trap my queen. Can he trap my queen? I believe he did. If I take... Okay, that won't happen. But I'm not that much bad, you know? I will say if I even sacrifice the queen, my position should be a little bit better. I would have so much passed pawns and rook and knight. Oh, rook and two pieces and 2 pawns against the queen. I'm up 9 points material. I'm not sure what should I play. What if this? We can even sacrifice 2 pieces to save our queen, but not like that. Knight a3. If it takes, just queen here can work, okay? Okay, no problem. I think that I'm a little bit worried about my position isn't that active. But after b6 to have this really good chain, and also everything should be defended. b7, and I would like to keep close that position because the queens are doing a great job when position is open. Some checks and take some figures, you know. If I take, my pawn structure should be a little bit bad, and even a6 could be moved, try to mate from here. And he's gonna take another pawn on d7. That's why I'm not gonna take, but pawn can move on f6. Let's defend f6. The only way to defend, I believe, pawn f6, because that was over-attacking from him, and even that spin I couldn't take with the opponent. You know that pieces were defended. Rook f7 to not blunder this, and my position is a little bit not active, so that should be only reason that even up so much figures. That's not easy to play, but anyway, a5 and bring the rook should be really good here. If it takes, that should be down figure for me, because that's a pin I couldn't just take the pawn, you know. I would like to bring bishop back, but because that's a really active position, just king h8, get out from this pin, and the trade even can be good, because his bishop is doing a great job on my weaknesses here. Okay, let's try, why not? I'm much better here. Let's defend with a bishop, because my opponent has queen. We need to defend all that pieces with each other. What we are doing, okay? Because some checks, not now, but when my position should be a little bit open, even some trades, you know. So let's be sure everything is defended, and at this time, what should I play? Probably move that pawns. Because we haven't queen, that shouldn't be that much easy to mate or take some figures, and also he has queen and rook. He will defend it so easily. Okay, we are slowly pushing that pawns. A5, b4, and we will see. No problem. This won't work, but I believe we can push. And we need to push that pawn and with create pawn chain, okay? If we push just one pawn, I don't think we can get some advantage position like that. Always see his threat. What is he trying to do? G5, I believe, G5 and then G6. But nothing, just let's bring the knight back, and that's also defended. G6, if I move that pawn forward, I should get back like checkmate after some moves. If the rook won't defend this f rank, so I'm waiting for G6, okay, and even if I take, H file should be open. That should be some trick in my position. So this pawn move. And how can he defend these two pawns? How you know I sacrificed the queen and now I reached very good endgame there. And how I said that open position queens are really good pieces, so he's trying to open my position with his pawns, but what gonna he has enough time for that or not? Okay, I can't take, but I can move the knight. Because now G7 is protected, I'm gonna take the rook, and his rook isn't active to create some something on that pin, and just I have one move to make a new queen, and if it's not even pawn a2 and two pawns are gonna make be a queen there. So even if it takes, I will take with a rook, no problem. The knight is also hang, but no problem. It's not even trying to do that. If I take check, I think that should be grid, because if he takes, rook h3 can check, and my position should be a little bit better at the time, I believe. Let's sacrifice this pawn because we are going to make a queen anyway. He hasn't any check, okay? That's really cool. Okay, take one of that pawn from b2. But I'm gonna have one queen there. If even not castle, I'm happy to see my position on kingside even not that overextended, because somehow he can't check or take some pieces. I even try to mate. That's why I'm happy to see that, and we have +2 in every move. That's why we are gonna take a win. Our time is getting higher and higher. Okay, you can take, why not? Can I mate him center of the board or not? Okay, I believe we are gonna take the rook. Okay, I was trying to do that pre-move to win him with mate, okay? After 4 moves, and that should be all, you know. If anyone wants to play with me, send me challenge. I will accept, doesn't mean how much is your rating and so on. He's defending with c4, that's not a great move because I'm gonna have really good advantages. As black I played Scandinavian defense, so I'm gonna bring all my pieces on that queenside castle, and that's a little bit aggressive opening. Why? Because that's files are open and just there is no much effective if you don't know that's really good, because this d3 pawn is a very bad protected, and I'm gonna take this, okay? That's why he didn't need to take to defend this pawn with c4, because How I said that's mistake because that's not defending this pawn on d3, and he's gonna have some not good position after I will take that. Okay, he's not threatening anything. I believe a7 should be hang, but if he even takes, I don't believe he can do anything in my position. Let's take with the knight to check, and he so I'm happy to see in this opening his king on the middle. So that should be very tricky. Okay, he took that pawn. Let's not worry about that. I will bring the rook and rook d6 immediately, because if he checks, I wouldn't block my rook way, and even I don't like to trade the queens because I'm down opponent. When queenside traded, you don't need to think about so much for your king, okay? For that safety. I'm gonna check with a rook and king d2 to attack even on my bishop with his king. That should be middle king, but anyway. Okay, he's trying to check. How can I prevent from that? Rook c6 or not? Rook c6, knight d4, and we will see. What should I play? Just if he checks, if I defend with a queen. Not sure I need to do that. That should be mistake. Bishop f4, that's not a pin, you know? I can check it, get out from here. And c4 is hang, I can just trade and all that pieces and have a really active position. But still I don't not trying to do that. He can long castle, but I'm not sure how much can be great. Probably upon d5, and he would have really great attack on my position. But anyway, let's see. How can I prevent him from long castle? I think I can't. Okay, anyway, let's take this pawn. I would like to go knight g4, but after he castle and d5 should be open, and my bishop should be under attack, so I'm getting out from this pin. Okay, bishop f4 can be moved because knight g4, his bishop should be under attack. I will take a pawn from here. But probably g6 and bishop b7. I would have really great diagonal for my bishop. Well, let's bring it back on a6. There is no trick he can do. Just b3, that's opening this diagonal, so for sure I'm gonna bring my bishop like that way, okay? Is that gonna bad for me or not? I believe not, because rook c6. If he takes even f7, his knight should be hang. If I bs white, just I would defend the knight somehow, and that should be a really great move. To also take this pawn on f7, I couldn't defend that somehow, okay? The rook and the pawn at the same time. Also e7 pawn should be undefended here. Really hard for defend because that should be isolated. But anyway, our plan is g6 and bishop g7. Now I said let's attack on his knight. He wasted so much time and he didn't need to do that. I am saying about the time, the move was great. If I take king b2, my two rooks should be under attack. But can I take the knight after all that? Not sure. Or I should be just down exchange or not. I would like to trap the knight, but that seems I can't. Well, not a problem. Okay, t8 is a little bit undefended. Okay, it's trying to mate in one, but just bishop g7, we are protecting d8 and also having really good diagonal. Knight a4 should be moved that I'm gonna play. Even now I will sacrifice the rook, take this knight, and then the other knight, okay? Well, let's do that. Really great sacrifice from me. Well, probably he missed that, and in the next move if he missed that or not. Here's... that should be bad trade for me. But if I don't do that, just back, you know my bishop should be under attack anyway. Gonna take the rook on h1 and force him to go back. He's up a pawn after he will take. Not a problem because opposite bishops are somehow draw position, even opponent if just be even 3 pawns up. I hate a position like that where just white squares all defended and he couldn't make some advantage in my position. That's really hard to get that light squares when you have only dark square bishop, but I think I'm gonna take this pawn. You see, if he moves that on dark square, so what if after bishop e2? Okay, he's gonna blunder these 2 pawns. If I take, pawn push here, I believe I can protect this pawn, okay? Not with a bishop. And if he can even not to push that forward, because if we push that, just, you know, b7 should be free and I would jump with my king. Well, I won on time, but I thought that should be even a winning for me. Just I was down a pawn and I take it back, and he couldn't just move that pawns forward, and my kingside pawns would gonna have really hard for him to take something from here. Okay, GG, nice win. Most players playing c5, and that's a trap. You know about that or not? Let's go bishop d3, and if he takes that free pawn, just that's not a free because b5 check, he would lose the queen on d4. Anyway, let's defend if he takes. And I would like to have that pawn chain also, that should be double. But that's opening my bishop. And also, if you have double pawns in the center, not worry about that. Because I am gonna trade that anyway. And if not now, just after some moves. Because I am protecting very much squares here, he's gonna try to trade that. I would like to attack on his king side, but that's really well protected. Or I can wait until he will take the knight. I will take with f pawn, and you know, the knight, the main defender in his position, would gonna not defend here. Just d5 also, I can push c4 and not give him that square, but I will wait until he will jump there. Bishop b3, knight d5 can happen, and my bishop should be under attack. What if f5? I think that's a great move. And if he takes, how can I take, with a bishop or with a rook? Just with a rook. Queen f1, and I should get this really good attack. I'm forcing him to take or not. Just if I take, you know. Okay, we can trade the queens. Let's see what's my opponent planning here. But I think my position is already good because his rook aren't doing anything. So after this trade, my rook should be on that 7th rank. If he moves the knight. Okay, I like my position. Because h6 is hang, and I couldn't bring my queen on g4 and also try to take this pawn because the knight was defending and also h5 was defended. So every position like that I would like to kick the knight and try to take this pawn. f6 is defended and he can't bring his knight back, and also some other pieces, for example the queen and so on. I'm gonna take this. can I sacrifice? Because here, how can he defend h6? King g7, rook here, I will try to check. Let's think about that. How can he defend? Queen d6 won't work, f6 won't work. I believe I can do that. He can't defend this. If king g7, just rook f3, g3, I was gonna mate after some moves. Okay, that should be only move that I missed. But anyway, I will try to mate him. What if rook f3 and somehow g3, probably after king h2 g3. Let's defend like this because he was trying to mate and my bishop was cut off from my rook and my queen was under attack. There's also some open attacks that should be bad for me, so I have to do this trade. I'm taking with a pawn. That should be a little bit crazy idea, but I'm trying to bring the rook on h1. I sacrificed the piece on that h file to bring my pieces on h file, and how I said h6 is his weaknesses. I don't understand why he didn't take this pawn on g2. Probably he's missed this idea, which I'm gonna do, or not just. Rook h8, that should be defended. What should I play? Or even e6, because now h6 the difference is that he can defend very well. But what if g5? If he takes, I have check. King back. Let's think about that. He would have only 2 moves. Am I need to try that or not? Well, let's do that, why not? I will check if he takes, and if he not, just he would be down a pawn. King f8, f7 should be weakness. I would like to bring my rook on h file, but I believe a6 and this trade. Just I'm trying to open the rook and attack on that from that center, okay? His bishop is under attack, but my bishop is under attack too. I couldn't even attack and take his bishop. So let's take the pawn, and I'm threatening to take the bishop. I believe that should be another threat. Okay, another cut from the rook. And if I move, just my bishop would be lost or not. How should I defend this position? If I move my king, takes, check. I don't believe that's gonna be nice for me. Or that's gonna. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have open check here. But everything is defended in his position, and even if I try rook f4, take his bishop, is that gonna work or not? His rooks are defended. I would like to take the rook with this open check, but anyway, I don't think my position is losing there. Check, let's centralize our king. And we will see. We don't need to trade, but if we force, you know, am I need to go his queen side or not? I believe we can try to do that. Because just king side is defended, we both of us can't make some advantage. Or probably I missed king f6 because I was trying to have this advantage on his queen side. Okay, he took, but my king isn't cut off from his rooks, so I'm gonna have these queenside pawns probably. What if king b4 and make some good attack on his position? He has really much pawns. What if he gave one of that to me? He can even sacrifice and take a win or not. Yes, because his pawns are forward, otherwise king f5. That also should be great for me. Anyway, we have Scandinavian defense on the board. Okay, my opponent played c4 and lost. That's why you don't need to be greedy in chess. And castle, okay? Let's see how he can respond. Okay, if he takes, I should be much better to activate my queen on that center of the board. I will force him to take, and if it's not, that's okay, we don't need to rush. I would like to go c3 and d4, but because c3 you just not developing the knight. Salty doggies, GG, nice try. Yes, thank you for that. I didn't play my best, but anyway. That's some endgame skills I was trying to show, but anyway, I blundered in the middle game when I blundered the exchange and so on. Knight a4. How can I make some advantage? Now my knights are defending each other, so I can bring probably the queen on c2. And c3 can work. Just c3, I'm happy to play that. And before, it's very defended from him, so I would like to go before. C3 to defend it, okay? And I was thinking that f5 can kick my bishop. But because a6 should be weakness for him, I was trying to make weakness for him. I'm not taking because this h-file should be open, and if even castle queenside, I believe there should be some attack on h-file. I think that's the weakest file for your king to have. So let's not do some stupid things there. We can trade if you want, but if you're not, that's okay. Everything is defended or not. Besides that bishop, yes. But the difference that we can now go back, which I'm happy to do. And also, I would like to go d5 and queen c7. He's trying to castle queenside because at this time just his pieces are doing a great job on kingside. I'm sure he would try to attack there. And what if b4 and b5 or even c5 to kick some pieces, and the knight would go back and bishop just would be blocked, okay? And how I said, we can just go forward b5 or c5 and then b5. Just let's be a little bit forward here. What should we play, take or not? Just because he's trying to go d3 and his knight is much active here, so I would like to trade. Just if I go c5, I believe that b5 won't work. But anyway, his bishop will be very bad position like this. And is this a move or not? d4 should be under attack after that, yes? What should we play? Knight c4? Knight c4 and a5 will do great job. And if he kicks with a6 should be a little bit weak. And also, so much pieces would defend that. And I believe I can take because he saw my queen is going overextended. Probably that's why he. This save file is open, but I'm not sure that's good for him or not. Bishop c4, okay, he has this really good diagonal for his bishop. Or this, after if he castle. I believe f5 can work and take, so I'm trying to overpressure this. Yes, bro, we can play. Send me challenge after this, okay? That's mouse click or not? Because if he castle f5, I would take this pawn. I believe he knows what he's doing. But that should be a little bit bad position for him, and even if he takes, I can jump right away and not even take the pawn from here. If I take, okay, let's take the knight and queen f3 check can work. So from f7 will be mate. The only way that he can protect, probably knight a5 to sacrifice the knight, but his position isn't that much good, so what if this sends, okay, take the bishop, now we are up 2 pieces there. And is this a trick or not? Can we take this pawn or not? Just if he takes, not sure. From f7 I will try to mate, but I think go back. Okay, fine, I could also castle, which I missed. Why I didn't castle? Well, now what should we play? Probably bring the pieces out and let's see if we can just castle queenside, okay? Our king will be so good there. His bishop is hang. If I take, our rook will be hang. But if he takes this pawn, his bishop will be protected. That's the reason. I would like to take this pawn, but my position is a little bit open. But what can he do? And if he takes this pawn, what? I believe that's still okay. Bishop f6 and try to push this pawn. Should be ideal. Also knight is hang. And if we defend with a rook, just bishop g4. He's sacrificing the bishop, but why? he could use this as check and take something from here. I have 3 pieces against the queen and I think I'm good, but the only thing that I'm not happy to see in my position, that's opened, you know? Bishop d4 check. Really? Just I have 3 pieces against the queen, but because he has so much pawns, I'm not sure that's defended. And bishop back check. How can I defend from mate? Okay, if that rook weren't here, just I can't even resist. But let's see. I will try to do something position like that because he has only 2 pieces. Just I'm trying to get some help from my position. You underestimate his attacking chances. Yes, I did that, sure. Well, also my time was lost. Anyway. Okay, sorry, I didn't try to do that. Let's abort this game. New e5 is I'm gonna send you a challenge. Thomas Queen D. To play or not? How much is your rating? There is no difference about play with me, but anyway, I think you have really good understanding about chess, like some positions and endgames. Okay, I sent you a challenge, let's play. Yes, I know, that's why I sent you a challenge. We are gonna play modern defense. And that also can happen when opponent playing a4. There is not much difference. d6, knight d7 and then e5 can be possible. Or even c5 in some positions, but if I know if he cannot take and my bishop should be in a really great position, I would like to do that. Okay, this and I'm gonna take with a pawn like modern defense continues. And even f5 at some point. Why sacrifice the knight? Okay, I'm gonna take that. And I'm up a figure, I can trade some pieces. Queen a7, castle, but I'm not sure am I need to castle or not. What if this and check, if he takes, he can't castle sometime. And even this can happen. And I'm overprotected with this, so I can jump there from my knight. Or even with a bishop, I believe there is nothing will change about that. Check, a really good move to not lose the tempo. Let's bring the knight. Yes, the knight, because the bishop will have really good protection on his light squares, so I would like to jump with a queen. And if he tries to move the knight to attack on my queen, b1 will be free, so I will check from here. Also queen is defending c2. So now I will wait until he will do some mistake. I will use that, try to mate or take something from his position. Well, let's try to do that. Even I can castle. But after this castle, a7 should be hang, so what if short castle? Queen h4, probably can be something after short castle. Okay, queen h4 and some moves, but I think he should bet at least 1000 rating to see that it was coming. I can castle long or rook d8. I would bring it here, but how? I think if I castle a7 should be just undefended, and from a8 he can check. So I believe my king is a really good protected in that a8. Let's check with a bishop. King f3, bishop a4, okay? Bishop a4 or this? I map a figure, but I'm gonna try to win this game from mate, okay? But can I? Well, let's force him to trade. Just there is not anything that I could do position like this. That's everything was defended in his position. He had so much figures, and if I traded before, just probably I could have something there. And because his rook was hang, you don't need to attack and hang so much pieces. Because in this position, knight check, and he hanged the knight too. And now he has 2 hangs pieces. So I'm gonna take one of them. He needs to go his knight back, because if I take with the rook check, his knight would be hang. Let's see how he gonna play. Knight d6 is a mistake. He could just trade, keep my king on the middle. If I take... Okay, he's bringing his rook safe square, and also if I take the knight, he will take the bishop. Okay, very good move he found. That was trade, okay? Here h7 is defended. If I tries to bring my knight, for example, d5 centralized, or even some attack on here, h5 can work too. Also, that's not about pawn, that's about h-file, that I don't like to get it to him like he get this second rank to me. Well, I'm gonna take, and his queenside pawns will gonna lose. Only move that will defend rook b1, but that's bringing his rook in a very bad square. I'm gonna take all this. No problem, we will play so much so you want. I can even push these queenside pawns forward, but I believe he will blunder anything. For example, open check, and I will take the rook or something. Okay, let's see if he gonna blunder the rook or not. Well, he resigned, let's send him rematch. Let's see how we're gonna respond. Probably Karogan defense. He liked that opening. He likes that opening. Let's play one Gambit and see can he get out from this or not. That's a very tricky opening and it's not easy to handle this. Because when you are taking the pawn, just we are having really good center there and bishop can take f4 any time. g5 can be protected. This pawn on f4 he will be sometime up a pawn, but anyway that's not easy to defend g5. So somehow h4 and even if he bring really forward in that king side, we can even castle queen side, because the idea to have really great center and also rook on f5 will do great job. Let's go h3. To defend this g4 he can jump with his knight or bishop. I think he was trying to bring bishop there, because there is no good square that he could jump with that. So a6 he should get this pin and so on. Bishop b7 is there. Move the activity that will hit my central pawn on a4 and so on. Let's see what should we play. And I believe bishop b5 can be even, because d5 I will try to take there. But bishop b5 a6 he will force me to go back and a4 won't work because b5. Let's not take a risk because we have really good advantage in this position and we castled, so I would like to go a5. d5 I will block his bishop from my side. But anyway, a5 and bishop a6 even can work. But what if a5? I believe that should be great, because we would have this d file open and then the rook can jump here and so on. If we kick the knight, also d5 should be undefended. We can jump there with our knight attack on his queen, and also c7 should be defended. But anyway, what if e6 and attack one more piece on that? We will see that in the future. I am wondering some sacrifice pawn rook a1 and we will see. e6 sacrifice, the bishop takes, queen takes check. e7 will be defended from so much pieces, so let's not take a risk. Also knight d5. We will hang two pieces on the board, okay? Let's not do that. Okay, I will let him to castle. If he castles, I believe bishop f5. Okay, we are getting out from that pin. So also he can't take. I can't take anything in his position, but anyway. Queen a2, and even if I move the knight somewhere, his knight on h5 should be under attack. King b8, he is a little bit hardly find that move, but I believe that should be only one. What if a6? And even knight b5 and then a6? Because that should be just pawn trade, but I'm trying to. I have this nice diagonal and probably a rook d1. Okay, he can bring even his bishop on g7 to attack another nice diagonal. You need to bring all your pieces on nice squares, how much you can. He sacrificed the rook, but why? He played very bad this game, and this game he's playing very well. Also, see what he saw. He saw that if he's gonna sacrifice the rook, he's gonna take bishop back. I'm proud of you. What he did. Just my bishop was second because he didn't take. Now he's down exchange. Okay, no problem. Another good move, you see. Very well, he's playing this game perfect. And this rook is him somehow. And if he even don't take, they just will be hang all the time. After he will take, okay. Rook a1, and his position is a little bit not that much active as mine, and you know why he did that. Let's kick the knight, and because the knight is under attack, I would have enough time to bring bishop back. And he's trading this. What if rook a7, pawn a7? And bishop d6, I can bring the rook, because now I can't bring it on a8 somehow. To not just lose anything, okay? Bishop d6, check, my bishop would be lost. What is fake? Please say about that to me, and let's continue. Knight c6. Okay, knight c6, also a7 should be not easy to defend. Okay, this can't work now, but anyway, I'm trying to kick the knight and knight c6 to take this pawn. And even I believe a4. a4 because the difference from a7 will be made. He lost on time, but so I was up a figure there. Okay, what I did, let's send him rematch. He played really good this game, you know. What opening should we play? I was just trying not to lose early. Well, you played very good. Don't think about that, just some endgame skills you need to learn. Roman, what you are talking about? Please say me about that. Let's get this trade, and even we can double our pawns if he takes. Okay, he's not taking, let's damage his pawn structure. Because if I take with this pawn and double the pawns, I could trade that easily. I would like to go c5, but because my bishop isn't there, let's replace that with a queen. c5 can be work. I would like to go c5 and then knight c6. Or knight bd7, b6, bishop b7. There is so much you can play. Not just only one or two plans. Okay, let's get this trade to have really good activity for our queen. I'm not taking yet because that c file should be open for his queen, and then probably he could bring the rook. Let's not hang anything. And the right move should be if he takes the knight on c6, which he's doing, because if he takes, just he removed the defender from d4. Should be a little bit tricky and some risk to lose that pawn. Rook b8. And what should we play? c5 or not? Rook c8 and c5 also can work. But he can defend also so much pieces, so I'm thinking rook b7 and attack on b file. Could you give a tip for 500 elo? Well, as 500 you can see one move ahead. That's say really good when you are trying to get some high rating. Because you are, I believe you are going to do one move ahead mistakes, so be careful when to not lose a piece or lose some plans, like miscalculate, okay? and try to see three moves ahead. So that's also very good when you are calculating what's my opponent trying to do. So I'm gonna attack on this pawn, and that's why I'm gonna bring the rook on b8, not for example d8 or e8. Try to create your own plan. Just his bishop is hang and this pawn is hang, so he needed to calculate that he didn't trade because he would hang so much pieces, because the knight was defending the bishop. And you need to calculate and be careful to not lose anything. That I will recommend to you, and also you need to learn endgames. Because when you are learning endgames, that's really easy to think about what's the best move in this position that I can play. And before moving, be sure that you are not blundering any piece. And centralize your pieces. Okay? And if you want, we can play. Also playing with rated players, helping you to learn from them and improve your chess skills. And if I take, we should trade and his queen will be on b1. Is it gonna be good for me or not? I believe not, because b5 would be undefended from me. So we don't need to take, we will wait until he will take, and anyway our rook will be on second rank. So queen c7, the idea is to take this pawn on f4, and that's not all for that plan, because f2 is a little bit weak. I would like to take here. Thanks a lot, I used the Italian also. Oh, very good opening. Also I will try playing rapid a bit more to be more careful, but if you got time to play, is that okay? Yes bro, I am playing with my followers, and also he's my follower too, which I am playing now. No problem, I will play with you. Find me on chess.com and send me challenge. That's very nice that you are playing rapid, because very much players, I will say new players, playing bullet or blitz, and hope that that's gonna help to improve their chess, but that can't help. That can help only one reason. At the time you should be a little bit fast. That's also important. But for understanding chess, you need to play more rapid. And also, when you are trying, when you are playing classic games, 1 hour or for every move plus 30 seconds, that's also really good. So I will recommend play so long games so you can as you can. Because when you are calculating in your mind, that's the best thing you can do in chess, and improve that, okay? You need to play hard in your games. Think hard. And analyze that. I'm trying to mate here, but that's still unclear. Well, I really good closed his position, so his queen can't check and try to make a draw from reputation and so on. I can check, but I would like to defend the knight first, because if check here, let's see, I am calculating that I am gonna take this pawn, and I'm gonna make mate from my fifth move. See? I can even do these pre-moves. Let's see, gonna mate. And when you think hard in your games, just you can do it too. Why not? Okay, very well played. Said makes videos. Are you gonna send me challenge? Am I need to wait or not? Yes, Blo, you played really great, but when that's time to calculate 3 or 4 moves, you quit chess. You need to play more rapid games, or if classic, I will be more happy. Բարև ախպեր ջան, ոնց ես? You played great, but you need to think 3 or 4 moves ahead. That should be helpful for you to improve your chess. Լավ եմ ախպերս ապրես շատ, քեզանից ասա. I will send the challenge when you finish your game. Okay, no problem, I will wait to you. Լավ ախպերս ապրես շատ. 3 minutes is hard, I know that. But that's why I'm recommending you to play more rapid games. You can even play 30 minutes games. Why not? That should be really helpful. And when that depends understanding, you have really good understanding about chess. Just you need to calculate more, and that's you need to have more time to calculate. And in 3 minute game, you just don't have enough time to calculate. That's the bad thing, you know. I will recommend to play more rapid. I was good until I sacrificed my knight. Yes, I will say blundered. But anyway. And if you play long games, you can calculate more than more than 2 or 3 moves. That should be really helpful to create some plans. That's also should be easy. When I tried to mate from queen h3, I did it as pre-move, and 5 moves I did pre-moves. And that's the key to learn chess. I did that moves before 5 or 6 moves. Well, let's attack on his rook, and also probably bishop c4 can be moved to have that's really good diagonal here. Okay, what should we do? This rook is under attack, but I don't like to trade that. What if rook c6, and if he takes, I will take with a bishop and have really good diagonal. I solve puzzles, but I don't feel it help me a lot, only good for spotting mate in 1-2 moves. For sure I didn't solve any puzzle in just last 2 or 3 years. I did when I was forced. My trainer said that that's helpful, but I don't think that's gonna be helpful. Just play very much rapid games, or also if classic, that should be helpful. Because when you are solving puzzles, that's the same when you are playing long games. At 2 times you are trying to think hard, but when you are solving puzzles, that's not easy to spot in your games. That's why that's not helpful. Okay, I solve puzzles like this, but I am seeing in puzzles how can I make some advantage, but here it's not. That's the problem. That's not very much helpful. I would like to go a5, and if he takes, he should plunder his queen, but b5? I don't want to give him advantage there. What should I play? That's a little bit unclear. My bishop on dark square isn't doing anything. I will go f6 and try to do something here, because he can try to push us on d5, and I would get this really good diagonal here. What is he trying to do? Knight c5. Okay, his knight will be in a really good place. I believe I can go forward, try to kick the knight, and d3 should be only move that he will gonna play. That time bishop d5 to kick the queen, and we would have great position. Also dark light square bishop will do great job. Do you feel anyone can become GM at any age? At any age? I'm not sure. Probably 12 years old minimum. That's why we get now from Erasmus or 13. I'm not sure, but anyway, I believe 12 years old is the minimum age that you can gain GM level. But in the future, probably can some players also gain more records to have higher rated, to be higher rated than these players now. Well, I tricked him. If I take the knight, just my bishop was hang. And now his knight is hang, but my bishop isn't. And that's why you don't need to just make some threats. Okay, his knight is hang. His queen was also hang, but he did try to bring this on a safe square because he would have enough time to bring his knight on c7 to not blunder that. And now what should I play? Let's see what is he trying to do. I believe only threat that he can try to do. Let's take my bishop, okay? g2 was very undefended. I would like to take there, but you know we can't do that. I would like to bring bishop back and bring also queen on the diagonal and attack on g2 because I believe there is no much figures that can protect. Also queen f1 just not be so effective on f1. I would try so to block if I bring this diagonal, but our plans are gonna change. Probably I can sacrifice the bishop. Okay, not now, but anyway. Well, we will play one more if you want. But first I promise to play with Seth makes videos. You will wait or not? My bishop is under attack. I believe that should be only move that we could defend, king f6. But how can we defend the other piece here? Okay, thank you for that. Is this time to resign or not? I think yes, because my light square bishop was trapped. Seth makes videos, I'm waiting for your challenge. Send me friend request, I will accept and let's play. I was studying games and that few moments in a second game I had huge advantage over you then. Yes, really. Yes, I am 2000 Elon Rapid. I am sure that I am up than 2100. I was even 2200. And as Blitz I reached 2000. So that's being a little bit low rated. My user is Sad Buffon. Your user name is all about sadness. Well, I accepted that. Send me challenge, okay? Okay, you're on chess.com. I can even send you challenge too. Are you want to play Rapid Blitz Bullet? I'm sending you Blitz, but if you want you can reject it and send me another challenge. I am about 19 years old. Set makes videos, I sent you challenge. I am from Venezuela. That's not city, that's not that big, but anyway, that's the biggest town in Armenia. Third one. A lot of players just taking this. I didn't like to take because, you know, my pawn structure will be a little bit bad at the time. And he could get this easily. Bishop g7 and castle is an idea, and if he not take, I couldn't activate my bishop on that diagonal, but that's not a problem. b6, bishop b7, and that also should be okay. Where are you from? Neo5 is... If I'm remembering right, you are from India, okay? But what city? Ah, okay, you answered. I'm 27 from Delhi. If you ever want to visit India, to let me know. Well, I will do that. I like India. What about you? You like your country or your city? How we can take this? With a knight or with a pawn? I think there is not much difference because if I take with a pawn, you know, that's the same if we trade the knights. Let's take with a pawn, okay? Because after a5 I will centralize our pawns and we would have really great center. That's not the time, or that's... Because that's opening my bishop, and if he plays a5 and then f4, just my pawn on that d5 should on that d4 should be a little bit hang. Okay, we have really great position. f7 is a little bit weakness. Let's castle, and also these dark squares are very well defended. That's not easy for him to make some advantage. But there is still not much clear how can I bring my bishop in a really good square. I would like h5, bishop g4, but f3 just, you know, that shouldn't be so much good. What if I bring the queen into the game, bishop d7, and because we have open file of that c file, I would like to bring the rook there. Yeah, I do like people are terrible sometimes, very bad civic sense, but at the end, it's my country, God, I love it. Yes, we will play rapid, if you want. Terrible people are everywhere. If you love your country, that's all. Rook c8. I believe this rook because that's not doing anything. I don't know even what to do. I too. Me too, because what's my plan? Just you can just bring knight on a3 and c4. You need to see what good moves and play that, because your knight will do great job on c4. And even I don't know what should I play. I'm just bringing my pieces forward to try to make some advantage. If you want to be a little bit aggressive, I believe f4 even can be moved. That's a little bit hard to play from my position because I played g6 and there is so much weakness. Yes, now I can king h8 and f5, but I'm not sure because I haven't really good attack on this king side. So what I thought, what should I play? Probably double my rooks. And let's kick his bishop so we would have enough time rook c8. Yes, I'm from Armenia. See my flag? That's Armenia. Is your city East, Russia or West? South. Russia, Georgia and Armenia. Yes, you are saying right where Romania is. But I'm from Armenia. He lost that. Uh, he lost that night. Just he thought that I can move my queen, but you know, yes, I moved it, but I took a piece. What if I take this pawn? I don't like that because the 4 pawn should be undefended after that. He hasn't any attack that should be even good, but I'm not sure. He's gonna take this pawn anyway. So if I take this pawn on d4 should be even isolated. No problem. That's a little bit close to be Romania's flag, but really not. Bishop b3, because there is not much squares that he can jump. Really good counter-attack move. What if I take and... Okay, d3 pawn will be very weak, so... But if I go back... Yes, he can take this pawn. Really nice vision, but... After this trade, rook b7 and this pawn on b4 will gonna drop anyway. Or a4. a4 he can defend this piece after this trade and b4 would gonna lose, but a6 also can be moved. But there is some difference. If I take rook b7, a4, a6, take the pawn and he should be up a pawn. But if rook b7, knight back, and at the time he can't just go a4 because a6 and he can't take this pawn on a6 with the knight, okay? That's the difference. You are pursuing chess professionally. Thank you for that. He's also a good player, but just some miss. I think that's... Ah, okay. He blundered the knight. I thought he would gonna be back also. That should be right idea, but he didn't. Didn't do that because that's why he's down 2 pieces, okay? I took 1 piece like that some moves ago. He's playing really good, but he's not enough careful. I think that's about experience. Because 500 rated isn't that much with experience. I can go a5 and try to take something from his pawn structure here. Let's try to go a5 trade and we will see. We are up even 2 pieces, so if I opening my kingside, I believe won't be any threat, just because he hasn't so much pieces to attack on my position. Okay, I'm gonna trade this on a5 and take this pawn. I could even take the rook, and I'm sure this pawn is gonna drop because that was double. But anyway, we are forcing his rook to go a1, and that's very destructive square for his rook. And a3 is hang, I'm gonna take, he can't defend somehow. I'm slowly dying. Yes, because you played great, but some and careful moves. That's why you are going to slow die. I will be even happy if we trade the rooks, and if it's not just, I will try to take another pieces. Example these pawns and try to go forward. Because that's not easy to mate because you haven't queen. You know, that's very good mating piece, which we can't say about these 4 pieces. And even if he haven't another rooks there, that should be even hard to mate some positions like that. And h2 is defended, so we will try to mate, why not? Just if he trades from first rank I can mate or even rook back. But there is another trick check, and if he takes his rook gonna lose, and but some other way I can just try to take d3, push that pawn because that's not very easy to defend with one piece if we don't count the king, because I can check it anytime and force him to go back. h3 thing, I can even cut his king from my position and move that pawn forward, or even something like that. No problem, I'm going to push that forward. Rook g3 even can work. There is a good tactics. Yes, thank you. Rook takes rook, then check the king, and you get the rook. Yes, how I said, but after bishop h2. Let's sacrifice the rook for no reason. If it takes, you know, I will make a new queen and mate after some moves, probably. If not, just that squares will be defended and I'm gonna take his rook for sure after make a queen. He's not taking. His rook was hang. Yes, you lost, but anyway, you resist well. Then, what should I play? GG bro, you played very well actually, as 500 rated. You were down a 1600 rating, but you played. Told FX, I'm send you challenge. I believe 10 minutes is okay. Okay, I'm sending you 10 minutes. I think that's okay. We can play 20 minutes here, you know. And I'm send you challenge. Accept and let's play. Well, what opening should we play here? Sicilian d5. We won him on that modern defense, so let's try to do this one more time. d6, knight d5 to overprotect this pawn on this square on e5 and go forward with my pawn, okay? That should be great idea, so try to break his pawn chain, and if we do that, this should be nice diagonal. Yeah, but I will try become better soon. Yes, you played great, just play a little bit careful, because you have really good plans, but just one move, you are missing something in your position. If that weren't, that should be drawn position after even 30 or 40 moves later. Okay, don't let opponent kick your pieces. Bishop b5, c6, and he has to go back, and he's gonna lose a tempo here, you know? In the opening, you don't need to play second time in your piece. I can even go b5, try to kick it one more time. He has to bring the bishop back third time, which will be actually really good from me. b5, queen b6, and we will see. Or even I can bring my pieces on queen's side, because somehow I'm really active there. Even knight a5. I would like to bring the knight on b6, because in d5 that will be centralized, and also my bishop on c8 will be really active there. Just I would like to go bishop a6, but knight g5 he will try to take this bishop, so at the time I should go back. And how can I prevent from that? That's why you don't you need to see moves that you know he's gonna kick and you lose a move. That's why I can go h6. And a4 is a great move there, because at this time just knight d5 won't work. He's not trying to give me that square to jump with my knight, but that's also blocking his bishop on my king side. I believe I defend it very well, but that is not easy to do that, you know? Hello, never point. Afternoon for you, actually. Afternoon. Yes, you are right. let's take and then the bishop. How is your day going? I will say how you think your day will go because that's morning. Where are you from? You're not probably from India. 95% people are from India when we are talking about my followers. And he missed this figure because the knight was just defend and I removed that defender. I just trapped him and he took the pawn. But there is not clearly winning for me because bishop has really good squares from the dark square and also this pawn is undefended now. Well, you are from Brazil. It's going well. Yes, really. I wish you will win World Cup. And there is no piece hang. Can I go knight c4 if he takes a4 and then the knight, or knight can go back and defend himself? Not sure, but we will try anything here. I believe rook a8 and that should be great. He's doing right idea to breaking the queen because how I said, because now I haven't that white square. Dark square bishop to protect my king side. He could also move his queen forward and try to make some threats, but I don't know why he traded. Actually, in chess this week is very bad, lost 100 elo. No problem, bro, just don't think about elo. I reached 2000 and now see, my blitz was 1700. I just in 1 week I lost 300 elo, and if I care about that so much, I would be nervous, just very much. So I'm not thinking about that. You need to do it too. I can go knight c4 and how I won him a piece from him. At the same tactic I could do even that, to take the knight and then the bishop would be hang. He could even take the knight, my rook should be under attack, but even his rook should be under attack if I take that pawn on g2. But also he's damaging his pawn structure, which isn't really good for him. So I would like if he trades because we are going to open this position. I mean we are going to end game. I would like to have some trades here. And what should I play? Where can I bring the knight? Just that's not unclear. And even this file is occupying from him, okay? And let's defend the knight because rook d8 after this trade the knight would be unprotected. But I don't like even to give that diagonal to him. So rook d8 in the next move. Because you want to recover, so you play faster. Yes, can be. And I would be happy if we trade the rooks because position like this I'm up a figure against the pawn, okay? If he not take, I can just take, and don't think that the file should be from his protection, because I can get it back. I would like to trade the bishop, but somehow he's not gonna do that, which is really cool idea that he's not taking. I can even break his queen side and after some trade because I am up a piece. That should be right idea. If he takes, we will see. I don't think he will do that. He will wait until I will do that. But not problem in my position. The only problem that's a little bit unclear, how can I bring the knight even after this sacrifice if there weren't a pin. So anyway, and even knight c4, but some squares are really good defended. I can't make some advantage from here. That's not that easy, you know. I think he blundered here. And that's not a blunder, I think mistake, because I was trying to have really good position. And I will say open position, that's really cool for me. And close position, that's a little bit tricky. He's trying to check here, come back, and what should he do? Take, check here, open check, but I believe he can't take something from my position, or he can. I'm not sure, so because he can check from g7 and some open check, you know, from the rook on g8. I can take the pawn, but let's think about that. If we, for example, bishop f6, here check. That should be even reputation, you know. He played really cool this one. Well, I can move that. I was thinking g6, but after take, that should be same idea how I said. Let's attack on his bishop. If this, king a7, he can take, king d7, and even in the middle our position should be good. Rook g1, I thought a lot this. If he takes pawn you trade rooks. Yes, even that can be. That's not bad idea, but he sacrificed the pawn here, which was really cool when we are speaking about his position. Okay, if I take the pawn, I should be up a pawn, but how I said, h6 is closed. I would have only that moves, and he would reputate that position. You can take because I took a pawn from before some moves. Okay, I'm bringing king here. White square because he has dark square bishop, so that should be a little bit tricky if I bring, for example, d8 or d6. Well, the rook is defended. I would like to trade, but some moves before that, when my rook was on d-file, he preferred to bring his rook this active square but not trade. But he's trading this time, I'm not sure what he's thinking. But anyway, his pawn structure also were bad, just 3 isolated pawns here, which doesn't helping each other so well. Even this should be good. Our rook just will gonna f3 and or h3 to take these pawns. This bishop is really annoying piece if I trade it with my knight, or even with my rook, why not? That should be really creative, I think. Knight a5, I'm trying to take finally. Can I or not? He has 2 squares to bring the bishop. So if he moves on, for example, a5, not sure, knight c4. Because even that bishop is a very good attacking or even defensive, which is defending so good, and my rook is cut off from that king and so on. My knights aren't doing great job, and how I said, bishops are really cool in that endgames because very much squares are open. Okay, let's trade now. We finally have this. I don't know why he did that, because when you are down a piece you don't need to trade. He traded, and that's really cool. What are you thinking about this position? And I believe that should be easy win. If he takes f7 pawn, we don't need to hurry. We can push that pawn forward. a5, because if he takes, just a4 can happen, which we can't say about a6. And rook f4, try to take another one, another pawn on f2 too. And we cut off the rook from his pawn, and that pawn gonna drop. And then f2, and then probably h2. We are gonna have this passed pawn, make a new queen, and GG. And he can't defend this, so He needs to think before moving this forward. Probably bring the rook somehow, I'm not sure, but anyway, he didn't need to bring his rook on that queen side, because that really isn't doing anything. Well, f7 is hang. He's trying to open position like this. What should I play? Okay, if I take with the rook, he can sacrifice his rook and make a new queen. Okay, bro, we can. Let me just finish this game. Let's take with a pawn, because how I said, after rook takes, he could sacrifice the rook and make a new queen, because f8 won't be guarded at the time. Well, he knows that's gonna drop because he didn't think about that so much. And there is another tactic here. If he okay, he thought I'm gonna take this pawn. If we trade all that pawns in endgame and we have only knight and rook, and he has only rook that should be drawn position. So you need to be sure you are not blundering anything there, you know? I'm saying about pawns, even that trade won't work. You need to take, not to trade. Never it or print. I am waiting for your rapid challenge. Send me and let's play. Well, we have challenge 10 minutes. Let's try to play Sicilian defense, probably French variation. GG bro, you played really good, but some endgame skills that's probably disturbing you to get more high rated. And at this time, I would like to bring my knight on e7, because on f6, you know, a5 can work and kick the knight, and you don't need to let opponent kick your pieces, because they are getting some advantage from here when we are speaking about tempo. And I will wait until he will take, and if it's not just everything should be defended, I am saying about this pawn structure which I'm trying to create. I thought I was defending it well. Well, you defended it well, but the mistake you didn't need to trade your bishop, which is protecting very well that pawn and also that position, the rook and so on. You traded, and I was sure you are gonna lose after that, but you did it. That should be, I will say, only mistake if you don't count that piece loss from you. The knight is under attack. I am somehow forcing him to get trade, but he don't like that, and he's doing right too. So bringing his pieces to defend all his position. So not taking this because okay, finally he took, but not very bad from him. The idea was that I'm trying to go d5 and I am pressuring center much as he has white. So as white you didn't need to let him do that. Hello Borovka, how are you? Welcome to my stream. And c6 is defended, yes? And even he can take, and because from d4 should be fork, even bishop g5 can be moved to pin this, and also c6 should be under attack at the time. So we are still okay. I would like to get this straight, even to bring my bishop on that really good diagonal. So now that's closed. Another pin which he can use. If it takes, my pawn on c6 should be undefended. So let's trade with a bishop. Okay? And at this time, because if that diagonal should be open, that's not helping my bishop to get activity. We can even take with c6 pawn after this trade if he takes, just if he not do that. I don't need to do that because my pawn structure will be very bad. Probably we can push it forward to attack on the knight, force him to go back. And this pawn should be over defended here, why not? Boruga, if you want to play, send me challenge. Bishop b7, okay? And we can get out from this pin with rook a7, because after even this trade the knight would be hanged, so let's overprotect that and even get out from this pin, because that somehow should be tricky. If your opponent have pin from you, just get out from there, you don't need it. And another pin, if he takes, we can take with opponent c6, but not problem. He's not blundering anything, you see. Really good attacking player for sure. I would like to go a5, but before even can be moved, he would have really great position there. I don't need to take, because if I take, he will take with a bishop. Not sure. But if I even take, c-file will be open, so I would like to have that. You know why? Because the knight should be under attack, which is pinned from the rook. That's probably why he brought his rook on b1, but if we get trade, just my bishop should be under attack. And I'm not sure, can I trick him or not? It takes, and then the knight. Okay, c6 is still defended. And we can continue to defend with rook b8 or not. Rook b8, bishop a7. Or I think queen c7 can be really good, because rook b8 he could attack with his bishop somehow and try to take the bishop here. Bishop takes, rook takes. Then c5 will be open, so if I push that, probably d4 to get some advantage from his position. Okay, let's do that. Everything is protected. His position is a little bit active than mine, but I would like to have some trades here. If I take like this, what will happen? I wouldn't lose exchange here, you know? That pawn is pinned from my rook. If he takes, that should be everything defended position. So I'm happy to see my dark square bishop is open, and that's controlling all that squares on here. Just the knight is preventing from b to a1, but that squares don't need me. And I'm even pressuring the knight, that means. And we will see. And if he doesn't do anything that force me some play, just knight a5 to centralize my knight to try to trade the rooks and get this a file. If a file, just first rank or second rank, we will try to bring the rook here and make some advantage. Don't forget to subscribe my channel to not lose my streams and play with me sometimes, okay? Like sometimes I'm saying when you want, when I'm in the stream. Knight a5, well, very tricky move, because he will trade his queen with two rooks, bishop f8, and I should be down a bishop here. Very tricky move actually. And if he takes, he should take a material. Bishop f6, and now knight a5 can work, because after this trade I would have moved king g7, but wait a minute. Bishop f8 can work at the time, because f8 should be undefended. So probably we need queen d7, then knight f5. I like that move, because that will kick some pieces, also d4 and so much pieces. You know, his pieces are doing great job on that queen side, from that queen side. Also have some really good pins and attack on my pieces. I would like to trade, but because my pieces are just defending and his pieces are attacking, forcing me to defend, and I will say not a very good position for me, but anyway, we will try to get something from here. Okay, he went back. I will say happy to see that. Here, how I said that still won't work, but I can't understand this move because this diagonal is very well up, and probably he thought that I'm gonna play d4 or just try to go d4. But it's also over defended, knight a5, and we will see. At that time I can bring my pieces more active squares. Knight a5, and probably bishop on a6 will do great job. And now he hasn't very much attack on that c6, which I'm happy to see. I can move my pieces easily now. Our remain pieces isn't in a huge attack, okay? If I take with a bishop, he has to take the rook, and then I can create open attack. If I take with the rook here, takes, that should be good for him. So let's take with a bishop. And even rook a4 won't work. That should be really tricky in this position. He just don't need to move his rook dark square because somehow I should be double attack on his position. That's a little bit good for him that he hasn't so much pieces in his dark square, so I can do this open attack and make something, take something from him. What about bishop a4? Just his queen should be under attack, let's don't forget about that, but if I take the rook and move the bishop, I will blunder this rook. So one of defenders, that rook is actually the rook on a8. Bishop c4, if he takes the bishop, he will get mate and also lose a rook. If he takes, can I get out like take, because I can't take the queen, but my bishop is also attacking on the queen too. So I'm happy to see this position. I can trade this and then the rooks, okay. And even get this pin, if not he will take with the knight, okay. Our bishop is doing great job on that diagonal. So I'm thinking even queen f5. Queen a5, bishop b4. Bishop b4 even could happen, but he can't get out from this pin easily. But I'm still thinking if he bring another piece, is just bishop a6, and that will control so much squares in his position. And I'm trying to pressure him. For example, this pawn is a little bit, I will say, his bishop forced to defend that, you know. If he checks, okay, he brings the knight back to defend f2, so now he can check and take with a bishop this pawn on c6. That's probably the idea, but c2 should be hang. I think that should be nice position like that for me, because probably in that rating he saw only 4 or 5 snooze, but I saw about 10. Let's calculate this here. Takes, this pawn is gonna hang, and that's open check will gonna be, his queen should be lost and the knight was under attack. So, but he probably saw that position, that should be winning for me. He didn't miss anything, he played great. Is that mistake for him or not? Let's go bishop on d6 or f8. Let's protect it like this. You know what I'm thinking. c5, d4, and I don't understand why he went g3. Probably protect his king. G3 does protecting from dark square bishop, but that's giving really good opportunity for my white square bishop. So that's f3, g2 or h1 isn't defended very well. And his bishop isn't doing anything about that. If his bishop were on g2, I will say, okay, he played that grid, or even f1, g3, and bring the bishop somehow on that diagonal to protect that weaknesses. That should be great. I think that's only mistake from him that probably he missed. Because after, for example, queen h3 or even in this diagonal if that weren't protected. And anyway, I don't like queen trade. I would have this great bishop, and probably he's missing anything. Not sure what he's playing. Probably his time is a little bit lower. That's why he's doing that mistakes. Okay, I believe he played great. But if I takes, he should lose this pawn and then another pawn. Okay, let's play simple. We don't need that win because that somehow f7 was a little bit weak. He would try to bring the bishop here and attack on my position. And after I will finish this, I can even take this pawn. But am I need that or not? If his knight weren't just, that should be easy win for me to bring this pawn and make a new queen. But because his knight is still defending, let's don't play that and slowly bring these pawns forward. If I bring this pawn, that's d1 should be over defended, which we can't say about when you have only queen and pawn and he has queen. They're just undefended. And c3, c2, we need to keep this pawn chain to make advantage. If I move one of that pawn only, that should be game over. Queen d2, because c3 I will blunder the queen, and d3 even could work, but I think his knight only way to defend. Queen f3 while he plays. But anyway, let's push this and then c2. That's why you need to learn endgames, because he played perfect in that middle game and opening. But because he is down 2 pawns, you know, these 2 pawns like 2 queens, I was gonna make 2 queens there. Well, he lost on time, he played great, just endgame disturb him. And GG blow. GG, yes. You played great. See you next time. Thank you for joining my channel. Subscribe to not lose